tell you what doesn't feel good. What doesn't feel good is the fact that there is systemic racism still in this country. It still exists. It's one thing if you are a racist and you own a store and you follow somebody that happens to be a minority because you're afraid they're going to shoplift. That's stupidity and that's racism. It's another thing when you lynch somebody. Make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen. That's what the McMichaels did, or as I like to call them, the McClans. That's what they did in Georgia. This stupid father-son duo, the ambiguously clan duo of the McClans, McMichaels. Well, now we're learning new information. And this poor 25-year-old kid and his family, this poor kid who is now 6 feet underneath the ground because of these dummies who decided to chase him in a pickup truck with their guns and kill him. Well, now we are learning that there was a 911 call by Travis McMichael. This is the son dummy who actually is the one who killed Arbery. Now, this 911 call was not the night that Arbery was murdered and gunned down. This was a few weeks earlier on February 11th, 2 weeks exactly before the shooting. I want you to listen to this audio because what it is it's Travis McMichael. Listen to him breathing because we're going to talk about this after. Listen to how hard he's breathing and listen to the frustration in his voice, but focus on how hard he's breathing because I'll explain why that's important after. Have a listen to this.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
It's Attila Drive, 230 Attila Drive.
What's going on?
We've had a string of burglaries. I was leaving the neighborhood, and I just caught a guy running into a house being built 2 houses down from me. When I turned around, he took off running into the house.
Okay. What did he look like?
It's a black male, red shirt, white shorts.
And you said the house was being built?
It's being built, yes ma'am. It's vacant right now. He is in the house.
What's your name and phone number, sir?
Travis McMichael.
All right, so first of all, I told you to pay attention to the breathing. Here's why. It certainly appears as though when somebody is breathing that hard, they've been running. Yeah. They've been doing something strenuous.
And whistling.
It sounds like me, after one of my dates. No, I'm just kidding. That's not true. I wish it was, actually. It would mean I actually put in a workout. But in all seriousness,
actually throw that in, Brad.
In all seriousness, it certainly sounds to me like he pulled a George Zimmerman. Even worse, it sounds like he was running after this kid. Now, why would you run after somebody and put all that effort into it when the kid is looking around and he's inside a home that is under construction? To me, that is so bizarre, number one. Number two, the McMichaels have been saying, there's been tons of robberies and tons of break-ins. There's only one police report of one actual event like that took place. That's number two. So that is a complete and blatant lie.
Over what timeline, Brian? Do you know?
Don't know. But certainly over the timeline that they were talking about what police
break-ins happen all over the country.
But in that timeline,
all the time.
We're not talking about all over the country. We're talking about this specific city in this area.
What I'm saying is there isn't any proof that there was an excessive amount of break-ins to warrant something like this.
There were no police reports the week before Arbery was shot.
And let me be clear.
A police lieutenant confirmed that on CNN.
Let me be clear, though. There could have been 1,000 break-ins that week, and it still wouldn't have justified them chasing a kid down with guns. So that's the point I'm trying to make. He's out of breath. Clearly, he was chasing after this individual, thinks he's a vigilante, thinks he's a cop like his dad, who is a disgraced man in law enforcement. We'll get to that in a second. We're learning a little bit more about this guy's history. He was told several years ago, before he retired, that he could never be in law enforcement again. Now, why would they say something like that? Why? Because he's got a past, this father. He's got a past. That's the problem. Now, you hear that 911 tape, you could hear the frustration that this kid has. Black male. He was just obviously chasing after this kid. Who does that, by the way? What is that? If somebody steals a pack of gum, would you chase him down and call 911? You could make an argument that that's more serious than this. Who does that? Unless you're a racist Klan member. Who does stuff like that? So, Larry English, you might have heard of him. He's the man who owns that home that was under construction at the time. And he said that Arbery is believed to have entered before he was shot and killed He was on CNN with Chris Cuomo last night. Again, this is the gentleman who, by the way, was not owning up to everything on the show, but this is the gentleman who owns that construction site, and he says he does not believe that Arbery stole anything that day, despite claims by the McClans. Have a listen to this.
As far as the video goes, I don't want it to be put out and misused and misinterpreted for people to think that I had accused of Mr. Arbery of stealing or robbery, because I never did.
You never filed any report. You never called 911 about this video.
The video of February 23rd, I made no calls.
Do you believe that Arbery stole anything from your house that day?
No, whatsoever.
All right, so that's pretty much the opposite of what the McMichaels claimed, at least what the father claimed when he told police. And, you know, he was also asked about the stolen fishing equipment. That was brought up by the McMichaels. Here's what he had to say about that.
The instance with the fishing equipment has got blown out of proportion. That was out of a boat, not out of the structure. And I'm not exactly sure when or where that happened. The boat was transported from Brunswick to our location to where we live 2 hours away. And I never filed a report on that because I don't know for sure exactly where it happened.
Boy, you're right. That is getting thrown all over the place as a potential other situation that Arbery may have been involved in. And just to be clear, you never filed it, you've never accused him, and you don't have any reason to believe that Ahmaud Arbery had anything to do with that.
That is correct.
Wow, so what a shocker. You're telling me that two Klan members, basically, the McClans, also known as the McMichaels, who basically chased down a human being like an animal and murdered this poor kid. You're telling me that they would lie to save their own ass? Wow, I'm so shocked by that because it's indefensible. But if you go to some right-wing websites, if you go to some right-wing television or radio shows, they make it as such a big deal and breaking news that this kid Arbery was looking around in a home that was under construction. Now, they're not man enough to say on the air their belief that some of them probably believe that this kid deserved to be chased down because he was in a home that was under construction. They're not man enough to say that. They're just leaving that for you to decide, which is cowardly. You know, they'd rather talk about Solange Shelley and what a hero she is than this poor kid who lost his life. And there are people with the balls that are willing to say this had nothing to do with race. How dumb of a human being are you to actually make that claim that you believe that if this kid was white, the same thing would have happened? The answer is absolutely not. And you are complicit and maybe a racist yourself if that is what you believe. I want to take some calls on this. What do you think about this new evidence? What do you think about this new 911 call that's been released? Travis McMichael, the kid that pulled the trigger and killed Arbery. Does it change your opinion at all? Maybe you supported the McMichaels. Maybe this changed your decision-making. Or maybe it makes you want to defend them.